But let's start out with a film deep dive,
Yep.
and we'll start with Tom Brady
Right.
against the Saints. He got the added advantage of Superdome. You had no fans there, so you figured, that may make it a little easy. Unfortunately, you still have to go against the Saints defense,
Yes,
which
exactly.
is very, very good.
Yep.
Numbers for Tom Brady at the end were 23 of 36, 239 yards, couple touchdowns, couple bad interceptions.
Yeah.
Did have a rush touchdown. So I think overall you hear a lot of people talking. They say, it was pretty lackluster for Tom.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Well, when you just look at the results of the game, his stat line, you'll sit there and go, whoa, it wasn't that special. And it wasn't. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it in any way, but I do think we need to be a little realistic about the situation. It is a new team. It is a lot of new moving parts. The best player on offense in Mike Evans wasn't 100%. You mentioned it's a New Orleans Saints defense that's the real deal, especially up front. So, from that aspect, when you have no running game to go along with it, and then not that the pass protection was horrible, but I wouldn't sit there and say after watching the game back on film that it was great. There was some issues there that were greater than Tom Brady, I guess is what I'm saying. But I think here's the thing that jumps out to me more than anything. I thought right away, almost as soon as I started the film, I could see they're trying to run some Tom Brady New England type plays to get him in rhythm. Shorter passes, similar concepts to what I always saw in New England to kind of get him going. So you're seeing the infusion of, here's what Brady likes, and then Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich and what they do and how that works together. I think some of that is still probably new to Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, some of that aspect of Tom Brady's game. So they have to get used to that. But you could see they're still trying to work on blending that together. All right, so I think that's the first thing that jumped off to me. The other thing that jumped off to me, just purely from Brady's play, again, the Saints were aware of who they were playing at quarterback. I'll say this. Again, early on in the game, you could tell there was moments that the Saints were like, no, you're not going to throw over the middle. You're not going to go to Gronk over the middle. We're not going to let you throw to Chris Godwin for 6 yards over the middle. You're going to have to find somewhere else to go with the football. And I think that caught Tampa Bay's offense off guard a few times where the Saints did some different things. They doubled Gronk or doubled Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And I don't know if the Bucs were sure that was going to happen. So I think that threw a little wrinkle into some of Brady's go-to plays and things he thought maybe would be there and the Bucs thought would be there throughout the day. I think that's the biggest thing that jumped out to me more than anything.
Yeah, Gronk not really involved.
No.
He had 3 targets, 2 catches, 11 yards. Mike Evans, just the 1 catch, was a touchdown, which was a really good throw from Tom Brady. And watching this game, I kind of was trying to compare him with Drew Brees, with Phillip Rivers. Kind of like the old quarterbacks. Sure. What do they have left?
Right.
And if you ask me, honestly, and I don't know if you agree, I would have taken Tom Brady over those other 2. I think the ranking is Tom Brady. For as many throws as he may have missed, he made some really nice throws.
Yes, he did. He's still got a great arm.
Tom Brady, I would go Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees in that order.
I mean, the way it looked yesterday, I would totally agree with you. And I know we'll hit on the Saints offense and all that too. But you're right in a lot of ways. Brady physically, the way the ball comes out of his hands and the amount of force he can still put on the ball with people around him, and maybe he can't really get his body into it, it's still very impressive. It really is. Now, you hit on Gronk. Gronk did not look good. I'll just say that. And I know it's week 1 and he's getting back into things too. So I'm not trying to judge, but I'm just telling you, for a guy that sits here and watches film all the time, man, did he look slow. Man, did he look like he couldn't lift his legs off the ground or do anything from that aspect. And man, did it look like he lost a little power in the run block game too. So that's something I'm going to watch out for. Other thing is, I do think I saw a little bit, again, of a few moments where I would go, man, Tom, just stand there and throw the ball. The guy's open down the field. In fact, one of the first plays right after his first interception, they come out and they have a concept. It's like 2 under routes and Gronk on a corner route. The coverage would tell you to alert yourself to the Gronk on the corner route. They don't cover him. He's wide open. I mean, it's going to be a 40-yard gain before somebody even touches him. And Brady was already getting the ball out of his hand. So I saw a few of those moments. There was another play even later on, about maybe 10, 12 plays later. Similar concept, same type of thing. So, again, I know this is early on. I'm not trying to overjudge you. I'm just trying to give a broad look of things that I saw that I think were concerning as far as just what I saw on that side of the ball. Now, are there positives? Of course there was. You said it. Brady's arm looked great. I do think that the offensive line, pass protection-wise, was probably better than I thought it was going to be. The run blocking and the run game itself.
Yeah, what did you think of that? Because I thought Ronald Jones, he had a couple really nice runs.
Yeah.
He looked explosive.
Right.
Like, I saw the highlights of the game, and I was like, wow, he looks pretty good.
Right.
And then come to find out, in every other run, he averaged about 2 yards.
Yeah, there
a carry.
wasn't much there. Exactly right. Yeah, and it was basically down to that one carry. But it's hard to really tell what Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette were, because their offensive line was pushed around in the run game. I think, quite honestly, that's just that's if you break it down. And I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers are not famous for their running attack. Now, I think it's something they're going to have to get better at, especially with a quarterback who's not mobile. And if you want the play-action pass to work, and Brady's so good at that, they're going to have to continue to kind of knock their head on the wall there.
So let me throw this in.
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
is from Justin Sandhu.
Yeah.
He said, how much differently did Arians call the game compared to a game against the Saints last year when they had Jameis Winston?
Yeah, I think it was a little less aggressive. I think it was a little bit more of like, let's try to be surgical. Let's try to get a lot, let's get Tom get us into second and fours.
Which in the first drive looked awesome.
Which
like
was
he
awesome.
came out of the gates, and that first drive, I was like, wow.
No doubt.
Working.
I mean, he hits that corner route to Godwin. He sits in the pocket, makes a great throw there. The pace, everything, it looked great. It really did. But I think there is, maybe a lack of just a little less aggressive. I think a little bit more of like, hey, I think we could go on sustained drives with Brady and company. And they were off their game a little bit, let alone, again, this is where I like the Saints defense. I don't always sit there and just go, oh my gosh, it's so talented. They're big and physical up front so they can stop the run. But where I really like defensive coordinator Dennis Allen is when they play big games, he'll do shit you're not ready for. And they were smart in not over-blitzing Brady, not letting him have opportunities to go, oh, here's the blitz. Now we're outnumbered in the secondary, and he's going to find the right guy or the right hole in the zone blitz coverage. They kind of did the opposite. Blitzed every now and then, but for the most part, it was rush 4, rush 3, take away some of the passing lanes where we know Brady likes to attack. And I thought that caused some hiccups for the Tampa Bay offense in general. And again, we can't underestimate the fact that Michael Evans was not 100%.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we got to
And you have Marshawn Lattimore.
And Marshawn Lattimore against him, right?
And
I think we got to just see that offense when he's totally healthy first, because, again, the success of that offense, the value, you can't quantify what Mike Evans does for it just on stats. He opens up a lot of things. He changes the way defenses have to play. And he was out there, only here and there in spotty play altogether. And, of course, that was a big, big guy missing for that offense.
The one pick six he threw was he was going for Justin Watson. He threw it after he made his mistake there. So just waiting a second too long. The familiarity with the receivers is not there. And
right.
I feel like that he'd love to have that one back, obviously. But I don't think that'll happen many times.
I wouldn't think so either. Now, what's going to happen to Brady is, and this would be, and again, I know people are probably going to think I sound like a hater. Brady's going to be asked to be like, hey, we're not going to scheme everything up for you, and you're just going to be so smart and read defenses and know where to go the ball that there's always going to be somebody open to dissect the ball. That's not the way Bruce Arians and Jameis Winston or Bruce Arians' offenses ever work. Sometimes it's just like, hey, that guy's one-on-one. You need to throw a laser in there. And he's going to be asked to do that more than he's ever been asked to ever before in his life. Now, that's pick six play. Let's talk about both picks, interceptions.
By the way, the third straight game with a pick six for Tom Brady.
Damn.
One away from tying the record held by Matt Schaub.
Because he had one in the Dolphins game.
Yeah,
and the regular season last year, and then he had the Logan last play of the game against the Titans in the wild card game.
So how worried is Matt Schaub right now?
Well,
he's got to be shaking.
He's
got to be freaking out right now.
It's a little different, okay? But the play you're talking about, the pick six, let's hit on that right away. First off, it's a screen to the left. You heard Bruce Arians already say it was a bad read, let alone a bad throw that you mentioned. I do think it was a bad read. What happens sometimes in the screen game, a lot of the smart offenses have like, okay, we're going to throw a screen to left, but they've outnumbers us over there before the snap, and it doesn't look good for the screen, right? Just like the bunch of f***ers rule. Damn, there's a bunch of f***ers over there. Doesn't look like we should go over there, okay? I mean, that's sometimes how you have to break it down.
Yeah.
This was not one of those. And, they have these get out of jail, like, hey, there's a bunch of f***ers over there. Throw this single route over here one-on-one with this guy. Now, he had the screen to the left. He also had the look to throw that out route to the right side. He did. He had it. I don't think he was coached to throw that out route into that look, but nonetheless, it was there. It wasn't like it was this egregious, dumb thing. But he was a little late. He took a little extra gather step before he threw it. And this should be a 3-step drop. When you're in the shotgun, it should be 1 step and throw it because you're in the shotgun. So by the time the ball gets to you, if you're underneath the center, that would be 2 steps, right? So when you're in the shotgun, everything has to happen quicker. He is late getting the ball there, and then he throws the ball 4 feet behind him. Interception, pick 6. Other interception, you want to break that down? That was a
Mike Evans over the middle.
Mike Evans over the middle.
Stopped.
Right. And I want to know this one here, because Arians again said Mike Evans was right. Mike Evans made the right read. He wish he bent it in more. I'm interested to see what Bruce Arians says today after they watch the film a little bit, because to me, regardless, let's just talk about the route itself. It looked like it was a tough defensive look. I don't know if Brady and Mike Evans were on the same page of, is it 2 safeties or 1 safety? You saw where he was running that, they call it like a pop slant, a pop post. Play action, come up. Instead of a 3-step slant, it's a 5-step slant, right? So you just get a little more depth behind those linebackers, hoping they come up into the run fake, right? So if there's 2 deep, I would think you would go and split the middle. If there's 1 safety there, you're not going to split the middle, right? Because the 1 safety's there. So then you bend it in to try to find a hole underneath the linebackers, right? In between the linebackers with the linebackers underneath. Right. They gave a weird defensive look. I think Brady was right in his read. We'll see. I want to hear Bruce, because Bruce will probably tell us today in the coaching press conference, because that's what he does. He tells the truth. But regardless, whether it was the right read or not, Brady just threw the ball, and the Saints weren't fooled by it. The weak side linebacker never came up with the run fake. He kind of went with the receiver from the get-go. The safety on that side never got real wide. Whether Evans stopped or not, it wasn't good, but it wasn't going to be completed no matter what. Maybe Mike Evans would have got a hand on the ball and the ball popped in the air and it didn't get intercepted or something like that. But I think them being off page there, and then Brady feeling a little bit pressure, and again, he's in a new offense. I think in New England, he might feel that pressure and be like, oh, wait, here's a guy to get the ball out. Oh, I got it. I got hit, but I got the ball out, and we didn't lose any yards. I think with this one, he just went, oh, there's Mike Evans. Let me just try to throw it up and give him a chance. Interception, bad thing happened. Just unfortunate that way, but that's a part of them working out the kinks.
Could also give Brady some credit for the 4 defensive pass interferences that were called. 101 yards there.
Took some shots.
Doesn't show up in the box score, as
no
we like
doubt.
to say.
There is value to that.
There's some value going downfield.
Definitely.
So he was able to do that and able to connect a couple times downfield.
He was.
All in all, it seems like not terrible for Tom Brady, although we should talk about the team that actually won this game. The Saints, because they scored 34. Alvin Kamara had some big plays. Drew Brees didn't look all that dynamic. Taysom Hill came in for a couple plays.
Yeah.
They scored 34. I don't know quite how they did that, but defensively they were
right.
Awesome.
They got 14 points from their defense, basically, right? I mean, both interceptions that led to 14 points. And again, I don't care how choppy the Saints offense is. You give them a short field enough times. I mean, Breeze and Sean Payton, they're going to find a way to put a few plays together to get points eventually there. Wasn't pretty by the Saints. It really was not. The offense was concerning. Let me just say, the Bucs did a lot of what the Saints did to the Bucs. The Bucs did it to the Saints. They basically, in a lot of scenarios, were like, oh, no, you're going to go right over the middle to Michael Thomas. Oh, you're going to go short to Alvin Kamara. And they took that shit away. Mm-hmm. And you could see. Then it became, okay, now where are you going to go with the ball? Are you going to make a big throw outside the numbers down the field? They don't have that element. I think it's a little scary that we're talking about that week 1. I'm a little concerned with it.
Well, some of the numbers here, and you know what? I always like to look at the air yards downfield, because I think it's a measurement that speaks to some of the things you're talking about here, and teams not feeling willing to go downfield and stretch the field. Maybe they feel like they can't with Drew Brees. But his average air yards on completed passes, just 3.2 yards, tied for the last in the league.
Yeah, well,
it's all
you had to do is watch the game. There's only 2 passes that went down the field. They were both to Jared Cook. One was a busted coverage. Another one was like a corner route he threw. It was a good play design versus the perfect coverage. But that, to me, is concerning that we're already talking about that in week 1.
So I wonder how much more we'll see Taysom Hill come in.
Oh, well, I know. Taysom Hill, just to add that in, he had a rushing attempt at one point where he dropped back to throw the ball. He had it. He had a post for a touchdown if he wanted. I don't know what he saw. Now, there you go. You get lack of reps. Sometimes you see ghosts and things like that. He ended up running and scrambling for a bunch of yards, but he did have it from that aspect. But, yeah, I think that's something that jumped out to me. The Bucs are a tough matchup for the Saints because the Saints offense right now, with Breeze not being in his prime anymore, it is based around their ability to beat you up in the run game and physically dominate you up front. You're not going to do that to the Bucs. So the Bucs were able to go, we'll play safe coverages. We don't need to put an extra guy down there. Our front seven's big as shit here. We're not going to just be intimidated by this great New Orleans offensive line. And that caused some issues for the Saints too, because therefore they couldn't really get the run game going. They couldn't get anything off of that going because the Bucs weren't going to buy it because they felt good about Sue and Vita Vea and Golston and JPP and Shaq Barrett stopping the run by themselves.
All right, so the Saints get the win. They don't look all that great, but I mean, good enough. First week of the season, and I think too,
they never look good early in the year.
You got to give them some
leeway. You can look at them the last 3 years.
Sure,
it's been like last year they were this close to going 0-2 to start the year. I mean, this is kind of the way they are. They find out how they want to play, and they start to put it together. And Sean Payton will find the right formula for the year that works for them. But all in all, the Bucs team, it does have potential. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be. Yeah, can they continue to find ways to kind of make that Brady Arians offense cohesive? And they got to run the football a little bit too. Mm-hmm. They really do. That's going to be big for them. The Saints, I'm not as concerned about them, but I just think after watching yesterday, there's my last thing I would say. They got to play Deontay Harris more. That would be they got to get him the ball. They need another home run hitter on the offense. When they were great with the Ted Ginn, right, and some of those guys, they need that type of guy to take a little pressure off the offense every now and then. And right now, Emmanuel Sanders is a really good, well-rounded receiver, but he's not a deep threat at this point of his career. Yeah. He's really the only guy I look at to go, he could catch a screen or a slant or run by somebody, and it could just be one play, where everybody else is part of the system and the culture and how they built the team.
So an interesting question will be, who will win more games, Tom Brady's current team or Tom Brady's old team? Tom Brady's old team already won up on Tom Brady's new team.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.